The reason I'm showing you this picture, because a bunch of fake individuals like to claim that they created the United States of America. A lot of fake individuals like to claim, and their ancestors came here long after my ancestors came here. And those Europeans that came here, they came here as indentured servants. They came here as slaves. This is the craziest thing about this whole fake narrative that they tell you about. The people who really built this land, built this nation, and have been here, right here in the United States of America. I could take you back to 538 AD. No European can say they was here in 538 AD. None. No European. So when you see our picture on this flag, all the world can do is give honor. If not, step up and show me any of your ancestors that could. I challenge anybody in the world that goes Italy, the Vatican, anybody in the world, any scholar, anybody, anthropologist, go to 538 and I can show you where your people are at, and I can show you where my people are at. 538. Muslim scholars, Hebrew scholars, go to 538 AD, 500 AD. Let's just round it off, 500 AD. And so this is to all of my people throughout the world who don't know that in 500 AD in Mexico, the people wasn't enslaved. Wasn't no plantations in Mexico in 500 AD. So my people in Brazil, you didn't have to worry about Europeans enslaving you. And your people wasn't Indians either. Wasn't no European nowhere near your lands. To whiten the skin, to straighten the hair of the people that lived. That's where native Indian comes from mixed breeding. Because it's clear who rules the world in trade, in sailing, in naval power. The Phoenicians, the Sidonians, Tyre. Indisputable, irrefutable. The Assyrians. It's indisputable, irrefutable. The Phoenicians, the Sidonians, Tyre, and the Europeans, because they didn't want you to know none of these names. They changed the names of the Assyrian Empire to Syria. But they don't realize that because the Bible talks about Paul being visited on the Damascus road, we know where Syria is located at on the map today, because Damascus is in the Assyrian Empire. They just changed the name of Assyria to Syria. Same thing with Tyre. Ezekiel chapter 28 talks about, it's a whole chapter where God told Ezekiel to write a chapter to the king of Tyre. rebuking the king of Tyre for idolatry. Then the Europeans go, when the Greeks and Romans come around, because they're in awe at the power and the might and the naval prowess and all of the forts all over the world that the kingdom of Tyre has built and the trade routes. Then they change the name of Tyre to Troy. And they make up a fake story about Hercules and Achilles. And they have a man named Homer write a bunch of Greek lies called the Iliad about stuff that our ancestors did, that they simply changed the name of our ancestors and the kingdoms, put Greek new names on them. This is the life of the Western world. And because they were so new on the scene, they couldn't claim dominance. They just told the stories until they got in a position to actually cross the Atlantic and come and check out the other forts and the other trade routes that the kingdom of Tyre and the Phoenicians and the Carthaginians had built all over the world. Then they changed the name of those locations when they finally got there. And through conquest and war and burning down library and destroying this and destroying that and confiscating these books and confiscating these documents and burning this and burning that and then writing new ones where they replace the names and all of that is called Hellenism, the Hellenistic period. Then they got to tell a lie that lands weren't inhabited, that they were the first to then they got to tell you that native Indians were there, right? Because somebody has to be at the land, because the whole world knows that the Europeans are not indigenous to those lands. But the only reason why they tell the narrative of the native Indians is because they had to be able to say that the Indians signed treaties. That's the only reason they acknowledge the offspring of our ancestors who are the root of the land, because our ancestors would never sign a treaty with them. And they never had the ability to overthrow and take the land from our people. So they created overlapping treaties with the offspring a lot of times of slaves. They would take indigenous people back to Europe, impregnate the natives, sign treaties and documents in Europe, bring the natives back to their lands. Countless times they captured individuals, went back to Europe, did their business in Europe, wrote their treaties, talked about, drew up maps, told them, yo, it's gold here, it's this, that, wherever they said the gold was, they created a map in Europe of those lands, and then they would name it a European name, Cape Town, South Africa. Yeah, it's diamonds down here. The De Beers family, yo, we claim title to that in South Africa. With our German self up here in Germany, we claim title to some diamond mines in South Africa. Because some thief and some pirate noticed it. The locals called that land, got a title for that. Some family has owned that land for thousands of years. But because the Germans came down there and went back up into Germany, and because the British and the United States and all of the fake kingdoms of Europe came together in a room in 1883, and they said, whatever we call anything on this map in this room, that's what we all agree, that no matter what, we're going to stick to those names. It don't matter what no indigenous people, it don't matter what heritage, no will that they family already got in place. Whatever we call it, and then when we go down to the land, anybody who tries to resist or whatever, we just gonna kill them and take it. Anybody who really own the land, we're gonna kill whatever family ain't working with us. And whoever does work out and sell out their people, they gonna sign this treaty and acknowledge this land as what we call it. That's how you got the lands of Africa. That's how you got the tribes of Africa. That's how you got the locals of Africa. And if you think that we acknowledge that, if you think that we acknowledge any of that, if you acknowledge any of that, I don't care if you are from there, you better sit down, dig in the record books, go talk to some of them ancestors, and if they still talking about this pagan ancestor worship, you better find some different elders, because you got that from the Europeans. Our ancestors ain't worship no ancestors. You got that from the Europeans. It's called Santeria. They gave you that pagan worship system. Did not exist. And some Egyptians gave it to them. So even if you try and point to, you can't point to African ancestor worship that began in 1883. Egyptian ancestor worship, that battle was settled in the crossing of the Red Sea. That's why they won't call it Egyptian, because the Nubian Cushite kings, who Moses' wife represents, Zipporah, never worshiped those Egyptian gods, were more powerful than the Egyptians, remained faithful to God in the covenant, and when they went head to head with that ancestral worship against the Creator, they lost. You want to try somebody else? Babylon? Same thing. You want to try somebody else? Persians? Same thing. The Nubian kings of Cush rejected every single pagan ancestral worship ritual and ruled those lands all the way up to 500 AD. And then they left those lands in 5 AD and left them desolate. They were the guardians and the gatekeepers of those lands all the way up until the time where the king who they served told them the land is left to desolate. Your people had 500 years to exit and go into all of the world and be fruitful and multiply. 500 years after I came and warned them. Have 500 years. You're not getting no more than 500 years. 500 years on the dot. He gave the Egyptians 500 years on the 400 years on the almost on the dot. when the Hebrews started worshiping those Egyptian ancestral worship system and they went into slavery. So that's another testimony against the ancestral worship that they're trying to tell you that is indigenous to Africa. Now these new forms are European forms that they re-gave back to y'all when they colonized you in 1883. They just changed the names. And they're weaker. That's why the land is unfruitful. That's why there's poverty, starvation, because you're worshiping with the Europeans and your ancestors already learned the lesson from violating. So my ancestors taught us in the midst of Elijah Muhammad and Farrakhan lying to our people. Our ancestor taught us to go to the word. In the midst of Protestant evangelical Christians joining churches and picking and choosing out the word, my ancestor right here flipped the slums, took his people out of poverty, took his son out of the projects of Trenton, New Jersey. Born in poverty on Humboldt Street. Took his wife and his son. Did the best he could into the projects, Fraser Homes projects in Trenton, New Jersey. Then by the time it was time for him to go to college, he had already flipped the slums. He had already flipped the slums. Not by joining Greek fraternal organizations, not becoming a Freemasonic sellout, not by joining the Nation of Islam. By returning to the everlasting covenant. That's what he taught his son. That's what his son taught me. So now we here to do some games. Hollywood Grail games. And the highlight of the Hollywood Grail games is what? Is that while the U.S. all this time has been faking that they are a Christian nation that serves God, everything the U.S. has done has been dedicated to the same pagan deities that the Greeks and Romans, and we just exposing it. And we just challenging that fake narrative. And we're saying that's the reason for unfruitfulness globally. And we saying that in these last remaining months of the year, we could use the same games that they've wasted all of these years, and we could take the same talents and create our own little bubble. This is an example of a code violation.
The energy, that's what I come back on for. The energy is great.
We're gonna start with basketball. We're gonna do basketball. We're gonna highlight basketball in a second. What we're saying is the Olympic Games not only are fake for many reasons, all right? One of the main reasons that from the USA perspective that the Olympic Games is fake is because the USA claims and Britain claims to be Christian nations. Britain and USA claim to be founded on Christian principles. So if that were true, then those nations would promote activities that would be in line with the code of those principles. There's a code of conduct. There's a character connected to the everlasting gospel that these nations are supposed to celebrate, uphold, and promote. And both of these nations, in Europe, they have a basketball league, the Euro League. In the United States of America, we have the NBA. And if the United States of America, and if both the United States of America and Britain were founded on godly principles, then the treatment of the least of these our brethren around the world, you will find no exploitation. Because the heart and soul is the Good Samaritan treatment of the least of these our brethren. Those who've been stepped on, abused, left for dead in the highways and the byways. The heart and soul, the character of, if you sum the everlasting gospel up in one character, trait, and principle, it is the Good Samaritan. You don't need nothing else. The character trait of the Good Samaritan is the code. The EC, OG unit code EC, the everlasting covenant, only God unit. The root is the unit. The marriage is the unit that produces Good Samaritan, faithful servants. The ECOG unit code, EC. Alpha and Omega, everlasting covenant, EC. Only God unit, the Good Samaritan, marriage, couple, code of conduct, code of principles, morals, standards. Everybody else is an imposter. So let's see if the USA, let's see if the Euro League, let's see if the Olympic Games Committee if they're exploiting or if they have good Samaritan principles. And if it's just about democracy, even if the European Union is atheist and pagan like they are, because it includes the Roman Catholic Church. In a democratic world that's promoting democracy, if the USA and the British are true, even though the Vatican is fake, in a democratic world, 2 outvotes 1 all day. So even if the European Union is Babylonian, which they are, because they have the Tower of Babel as their logo, their icon. They have the woman riding the beast as the logo and the icon for the European Union. So they have already declared that they're pagan, but still, Great Britain claims to be founded on everlasting gospel principles. And the United States of America claim that they own everlasting gospel principles. So if they turn out to be fake, you must overthrow them. If they turn out to be fake, they have no authority. They don't count. They don't matter. They don't exist. And those that stand on those principles in those lands rule those lands, no matter what the imposter says. So let's see. Let's see if the world is testifying against the Olympic Committee, European Union, Great Britain, and the US in DC.
People enjoy life. There is joy, there is a positive vibe and energy of people. We have everything, you name it. If you want to go safari, you can't go in the Congo. You want to go see the gorillas, of course it's crazy, but you can always come to the Congo. You want to enjoy a park, we got the most beautiful park in the world. You want to go to the volcano, well, we got a volcano here. We have everything here in the Congo, but it's just a matter of making sure that all the people benefit from it.
Athletes are defined by what happens within the game and the endless media coverage surrounding it. Here, we're giving you a different perspective. Welcome to the clubhouse.
Every time I come back home, it's like refilling my system, you know. I think I appreciate things more because I went through a lot, but also I understand that all these people in the street, they're trying to find a way to survive. The country has been through so much. A lot of kids has been dragging it in the army. For us, in lack of education, I think we thought it was normal, a kid having a gun in his hands. Right now, it's just looking about now and how.
Understand, the only way that a top 3% can control the bottom 97% is divide and conquer. The only way the small minority can monopolize 50 to 75% of the resources of the world A small top 3%. Is to divide the bottom 97 in so many splintered flat fractions and conquer every single splintered fraction. The math will never add up for the small little 3% in the European Union, in the United Nations, in DC, in London, in France, in Germany, in Scotland, in Ireland, in Switzerland, in Austria, in Hungary, in Turkey, in the Dutch Netherlands. That's where all of the top 3% pool. Now they've let the Chinese, the Russians, but they got 97% in China in poverty. They got 97% in Russia and the numbers still add up. The only way for the top 3% to control the bottom 97% is conflict, conflict, conflict. Look at the United States of America. Look at your slums. Look at India. Look at your slums. Look at the Caribbean. Look at your slums. Look in Russia. Look at your slums. Look in China. Look in Japan. Look all over the world. You got the same thing. And you got the bottom 97% who are programmed to believe in the Western way of thinking in your land and allow the leaders of your countries to want to be rich like the Western leaders. So then they strike deals with the Western leaders for the resources of your land so that they can live the life that the British and the Germans lived on yachts. They sell Donald Trump. They sell Bill Gates. They sell Warren Buffett. They have Forbes magazines so they can drive a narrative for the rest of the world to chase. The world don't chase the fake narrative of the royal family in Saudi Arabia. Nobody believes that trash, but Europeans. Nobody believes that trash. We all know that the moment that the oil is over, the Saudi Arabian family are paupers like the rest of the 97% of their people that live here. Nobody believes that trash but you Europeans. They artificially propped up a fake royal family by attaching the US dollar to oil. They took the US dollar off gold and made USA citizens poverty stricken by giving you fake money. And then they created a fake royal family by saying that the only resource that they could even claim as valuable is the most valuable resource on the planet. If they had left your money attached to gold, which long before the European has always been the source and the currency of wealth. Now all of a sudden a European comes and now gold is not worth anything. The only people in the world who claim that gold is not valuable is the European. Babylon said gold was valuable. Egypt said gold was valuable. All of our ancestors said gold was valuable. The only people who have said a destructive force, and remember, these are the same people that's telling you you need to give them power to lock the world down because you having babies and doing what God has commanded you to do, the population growth is destroying the climate. Not their endless chase for dirty fossil fuels. No, that could never be the contributing factor No, it's the fact that Nubians are producing babies and they can never catch up on the numbers. So now they're going to tell you that your population growth is why people starve. No, that's not why people starve. People starve because Europeans keep sending these people who have talents and causing tribal war and tribal faction beef. And then they weaponize the different tribes. Nobody in the Congo makes weapons. Nobody. Nobody in the Congo makes trucks. Nobody in the Congo makes tanks. They don't make artillery. They don't make bullets. Nobody. They're getting from Western countries to divide and conquer. The bloodshed is a European bloodshed. Why? Because they don't want these people to live off of their own resources in their country. They would rather have our people. And when y'all try and have pride in Africa, when y'all try and have African pride in a system that was given to you in 1883, that is the same way that the Hebrews paid Judas to give the kiss of death to the king. And y'all want somebody to acknowledge the culture and the value in that. There's no value in that. That is unnatural, family. What we celebrate is who our people in the Congo were before they accepted the Dogon belief of the Dogon tribe of West Mali, of Mali. The Dogon tribe of Mali is the Philistines of Egypt, who just migrated west, changed their name, and taught you about Sirius the dog star, which is Horus of Egypt. All of this death is because the same Philistines who were pagan, worshiping Horus, who lost to Moses and the king, who got crushed. They migrated across the land with their tail between their legs, set up shop in the west, and got right back to the same heathen lie. And that's who the European came down and did business with. That's who the Hebrew, that's who the Germans came down and signed treaties with on the continent and did the longest slave trade. The Arab Muslim slave trade is the longest slave trade in Earth's history, going back to 711 AD. So from 711 to 1883, when our people were traded back and forth all across Africa, up and down Africa, listen, those tribes, whatever tribe you in right now, that ain't the name of that tribe. You got 100 different family groups from Africa that when the dust settled from that slave, they still doing the same slave trade. Our people are still migrating from trying to get out of the way of this 1,700-year slave trade, 1,300-year slave trade. Then you settle down, you settle in a patch of land for 40 years or 50 years, and then you try to talk about your ancestral heritage. There's no ancestral heritage with you in that tribal name. You're just allowing the European to use the individuals who have sold you out in that area to extract the resources from there. If you was like, listen, I could go back to my father's house. I don't have to settle in this little land. Listen, I'll take my chances partnering up with my people in South Africa. If oppressed groups in Africa took y'all numbers and banded together, but y'all keep going to these so-called shamans. Y'all keep going to these so-called medicine men, and we got them in the United States of America too. They're called Shriners. It's called Farrakhan. Only difference over here, we don't listen to Farrakhan and Jesse Jackson. They can't tell us nothing. The only difference between us and you, they can't tell us about how our ancestors worship. We know how our ancestors worship, and we know our ancestors was here long before the Europeans gave y'all voodoo. Long before they gave the Dogon. Long before the Dogon, our ancestors worshiped the Creator. All of our ancestors. And the only reason they doing this to y'all in the Congo and all over Africa is because y'all have settled for those African traditions, and none of them yours. You're bigger than that. You're greater than that.
How we can create a better future. I don't want to live this world and say I didn't do anything about it. I don't want to do that. I don't want to be that guy.
I'm with you, bro. I'm with you. You just working with the wrong people. The Orlando Magic is a part of the problem. The Orlando Magic is part of the problem. Don't worry, 2020, we launching a league. We're launching a league. You can keep playing in the NBA. But to all of your brothers and sisters, if you don't want them to be exploited the way you was exploited, the gateway to our professional leagues is the Hollywood Grail games. That's the easiest way to break up $40 billion and inject it directly into the economy first, even before. And from the talent in the Hollywood Grail games, that's how we gonna select the talent that play in the professional leagues worldwide. They got a World Cup worldwide. And so we creating the Conflict Diamond League. That's right, the Hollywood Conflict Diamond League. If you came from a neighborhood that they divided and conquered, if you came up from a neighborhood, Chicago, the Congo, Soweto, South Africa, Zimbabwe, Africa, if you come from any of these, Kenya, where they've divided you up to mine resources, and they got you in war after Sudan, Darfur, that's who our professional leagues are for. And we ain't about to enslave you like the Orlando Magic and the NBA. We ain't about to take half of your money. We don't need your money. We need you to have your money. We are not going to tax you. You look on your check, Bismarck, Biombo. The Orlando Magic is taking almost half of your check. Go look at your check, bro. Why do the wealthy owners of the Orlando Magic need to take a cut from you and every last one of your teammates? Why? For what? Their attorneys make sure that they pay zero taxes. Why do you have to pay zero tax? You're in their tax bracket. Why don't you have access to their attorneys? Because that's their deal. They get to shelter their wealth at the expense of you and your family's wealth. That's the crooked crabs of the NBA and the NFL and the US. That's the crooked crabs of the so-called Christians in the US. In our leagues, the first thing we do is put you financially in the top 0.01%, 0.001% financially, economically. That's first off. And when you're in that bracket, nobody pays taxes in that bracket. Nobody getting $20 million, $30 million. Nobody should ever pay taxes. Donald Trump brags, he don't pay no taxes. Jeff Bezos don't pay no taxes. Bill Gates don't pay no taxes. They better than you. Mark Cuban don't pay no taxes. Is he better than you? He's saying he is. Every owner of the NBA is saying they better than you.
The level of basketball here is different. One reason is that there is not enough basketball court. The second thing is that we stopped playing basketball kind of late.
To my brothers and sisters in the USA, that was a cry for help. That was a cry for help. And we have responded with the Hollywood Grail games. Anywhere in the world where there is this talent, they will have state-of-the-art recreational facilities invested by us. And from the age of 4, they will begin training all over the world in every sport in the Hollywood Grail games.
This court, it means a lot to me, you know. It's a sponsor that, you know, we kind of come into an agreement where, for me, it was more important that they reinvest the money, and this is what they come up with. Ça fait la joie de vous revoir et de voir que vous êtes en train d'améliorer, le garçon tout comme les filles.
First of all, it's not state-of-the-art facilities. I'm gonna show y'all what state-of-the-art facilities is. We know what state-of-the-art facilities is. Another reason why the NFL and the NBA owners are crabs, because they make you, the USA citizen, pay out of your taxes for their state-of-the-art facilities that they profit off of. While then they go and they take the taxes out of the pockets of these athletes that come from third world impoverished places. I'm gonna say it again. They tax the players and they tax people who aren't NBA fans, who aren't NFL fans. If you live in the neighborhood where they're built, if you live in the state where they're building a new NBA, NFL, they take the money out of your taxes. And every last one of those facilities got a roof over it. Why? So when it rains, the training can continue. Got a roof over it and are indoors. Why? So that the elements don't erode and destroy the facility over time. They want to act like they did something for these people with this court outside in the Congo. Do you know that when the rainy season comes, do you know what happens to this? How many years is this going to stand up? Then the people who did it, they done wrote it off, and they use this mamby-pamby court to justify why they don't pay no taxes. That all they have done is create an opportunity for us to step into the gap and do our people right, and they can't compete. Why? Because they don't want to spend no money.
Et ça nous donne aussi l'opportunité d'avoir l'égalité. Et qu'est-ce qui nous réunit, c'est la balle de basket. Qu'est-ce qui nous réunit, c'est la vision qu'on a.
See how we do? See how we do? See the difference between the sons of God and these fake Europeans? You see how they do the WNBA? They treat the WNBA as slaves, as second class. They treat them the same way they treat women, period. This man got the boys and the girls on the same court. The girls is getting the same exact love that the boys is getting. They're getting the same access that the boys is getting. Do you think that happens over here? No, it doesn't. It doesn't happen at the college level. The college girls basketball is nowhere near get the treatment and the love that the men do. That's why at the NBA level, the NBA is treated way better than the females. But here, this man is in the Congo, and he got the girls and the boys going through the same drill, getting the same love, elevating their games at the same time.
Pour le pays. Donc, on y va et puis on travaille.
Work. Look.
C'est très important que le basket s'agrandisse parce qu'à travers le basket, on a aussi une éducation. À travers le basket, il y a plusieurs opportunités.
Oh, hold on.
Hold on.
Viens. Va vers l'intérieur, comme ça. There you go. Et vas-y.
On the middle.
Tu as déjà vu Kyle Lowry en train de jouer? Viens faire l'écran. Ça, c'est Kyle Lowry. C'est un shooter à 3 points. Et lui, il sait ce qu'il fait. Et il est payé pour ça. Donc, c'est vrai que des fois, les choses sont un peu difficiles, mais après, c'est à vous de voir qu'est-ce qui va vous aider à devenir ce que vous voulez être. C'est ça la définition de ma carrière. I started playing when I was 14. At 15, I started asking my parents if they could let me go and be a professional.
Listen. 14 years old, he started playing.
When I left, it was hard for me. I'm not gonna.
By 15, he's like, yo, can I become a professional? So look at the migration route. This is what they making our people. We're cutting out the NBA middleman. We're cutting out the EuroLeague middleman for all our people. We paying double what the NBA is paying. And we're gonna show you how to pay no taxes like that. He had to leave Congo, go over to another nation, Tanzania. Watch this. This is modern day slavery, y'all. So just imagine our people in South America, Venezuela, Chile, Ecuador, El Salvador, Mexico, and they want to get to the USA to work. He trying to do the same thing. He just trying to do basketball. And the same structure that they got up to smuggle people, and it's a black market, it's an underground market, they got the same black market in the NBA and in the EuroLeague and in Africa, where people are taking advantage of individuals who got skills to play. And so all of the crooks and the thugs and the thieves in Africa and Europe are saying, you gotta pay us. This is extortion. This is the mob. This is extortion. If you getting out of here, and it's countless, he made it. It's thousands who just get exploited and never, ever, ever. Listen, if in the United States of America, with none of this extortion going on, it's thousands of people who grow up and try and become professionals and don't make it. Imagine how many of our people in Africa who got the same dream, who got the same skills, but got all of this other slave trade in between them and it. And then Orlando Magic, and then the NBA is running around here, letting China dictate. Don't nobody deserve to watch the NBA. If you scared of China, if the NBA is more scared of China than they are of disrespecting the name of the US, listen, the league is over with. And all of y'all who still support the NBA and the NFL, listen, we're gonna make sure that the whole world know. And all of y'all that's still bold enough to go to social media, listen, when it all comes crashing down, and when our people are back enslaved again, we're gonna remind you of these moments. When you tell the European that it's okay, listen, this is the same thing that the Native American told them. Then they ended up on the reservation. When you play with the European and tell them it's okay for you to exploit, they had never, ever, the word of God says they will never have enough. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Dr. Martin Luther King, injustice anywhere. When you let the European exploit anywhere in the world, you have put a target on your own back and your children's back. And then when you sit quietly by, when it happens to somebody else, then when it comes to you, the Most High God says, you have blood on your hands. You got to deal with whatever this wolf does to you. That's called judgment. Either you judge the wolf or the wolf will judge you. This is called the golden rule. Do unto others as you will have them do unto you. Pay back to her double for what she has done to you, says the word of God. It ain't say nothing about turning the other cheek, not to us. Pay back her double for what she has done to you. Bismarck travels to Tanzania with an agent. He has never met after hearing promises of a pro career overseas. This is exactly how they do it. This is exactly how they do every single black market. This is exactly how they do prostitution. They find the girls who are in abject poverty all over the world. Then they have these agents who come and say, yo, I know some people who have some housework up in Saudi Arabia. There's some people who have housework. That's code word for prostitution. And because there is no economic flow in their country because the Europeans have destroyed the economy. Their economy is not destroyed because of them. Their economy is destroyed because the Europeans are extracting all wealth through the heads of state. So the people have to deal with agents of the black market who then come back and be like, yo, we heard of jobs over here. And when you're starving and when you listen, it's called you trusted in somebody who is not trustworthy. Our people are guilty only of hoping and dreaming on a better life and trusting those who can't be trusted. An agent he has never met, after hearing promises, I promise you could have a pro career overseas. How many more people have they promised that didn't have the right height? They don't hold back them promises when they know you don't have the ability. Why? Because for every person that you bring to Tanzania, they pay the agent. The agent gets paid whether you become a pro or not. The coyote bringing the people across the desert whether you die, whether you go to prison, whether ICE catch you, the coyote gets paid.
When I left, it was hard for me, I'm not gonna lie, because I had to establish myself in a certain way. The guy that was supposed to get our visa left with our passport to Zanzibar.
That's how they make them. That's how they enforce the slavery. These dudes have passports, they're legal. But the individual who's promising them pro careers, they take their visas, hand them off to somebody else. Now they're illegal immigrants. And the whole world is talking about what's up with these migrants. They didn't start off as a migrant. A crime was committed against him. Black market underworld economy is exploiting our people. And the NBA is the root and the source and knows all about it. But so that the European League, Europeans can't play no basketball. If the Europeans didn't have this slave trade going all of this time with all of this talent coming, most of these people end up in the Euro League and they just making money for the Euro League. And the NBA knows it. The NBA has propped up all of these leagues all over the world so that in the European countries, they can produce a team for the Olympic Games. Huh? Why? Ain't nobody gonna choose to go to Europe. The heck we gonna choose to go play in Europe for? If we could go and get the real money in the NBA. Just like they did us here, they made us go to college and play in college for free. Don't act like this sound new. The only two sports where you gotta go to college before you go pro: football and basketball. Slave trade. This is the farm system. This is the NCAA system in Africa for the European League. This is the NCAA system. You're looking at it. Further proof that the NCAA is a crime against our communities, our mothers, our families. They have extracted wealth from families. Families have been destroyed from the wealth that they have withheld from the sons that we trained. That is fraud. The NCAA is fraud. And we want all of the reparations. Every owner of every team, you owe us reparations. You owe Chicago reparations. You owe New Jersey reparations. You owe New York reparations. Not them governors, I'm talking about the hoods, the very hoods that y'all talk about. However long the league is up, your grandchildren, and great-great-grandchildren will never be able to pay back the debt to how many families you have extracted, how many dead sons you have put in the grave, how many criminals the NCAA has created. Because when you create poverty and starvation, crime flourishes, and they know it. This is your own RICO law, a criminal conspiracy. The NCAA is a mob-created criminal conspiracy. Every family in the NBA and the NFL that owns a team has profited from the NCAA's criminal conspiracy. Every last one of these conferences and these presidents of these conferences and these March Madness boards with their directors and every last one of y'all who get television contracts and then y'all cut up the money for the television contract, all of y'all are guilty under the RICO laws in the United States of America of a criminal conspiracy called fraud and tax evasion, and we are requiring reparations on behalf of our people. And every governor and every senator and every mayor and every congressman and every senator in the U.S. federal government level, you are guilty of the same criminal conspiracy against our brothers and sisters around the world. And we are bringing the class action suit under the RICO statute in the most high court of law. The men of Nineveh will judge this final generation. The queens of the South will judge this final generation. He told you we was coming. The handwriting on the wall is here for the US, European Union, Britain, the United Nations, the Vatican, France, Germany, Spain, Portugal, the Dutch Netherlands, Austria, Swiss, Hungary, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Dubai, Iran, Syria, Libya, Iraq, all of China, Russia, all of y'all countries that have participated in the blood money with this fake charade, that you are all included and indicted in this criminal conspiracy. We coming to get our check.
3 a.m. in the morning, knock on the door, where's your passport? We're explaining that we have a passport. They pretty much thought we were running from, hunger in the DRC and this and that.
From Tanzania to Yemen. So they got wars in all of these countries. But the Euro League and the NBA got a network of basketball teams that are connected with the rebels in all of these areas, that they can still have a league going in a land where the UN won't even listen. You got to get armed guard to even drop off food and supplies in Yemen. You got to get a UN convoy to even do aid in Yemen. But because they are connected with these rebels, all of these black markets are all connected, and the NBA and the European Union, the Euro League, they're connected with all of it. So they are not being taxed and exploited. As a matter of fact, they use these networks. They pay them their cut. That's why their games are allowed to happen. Huh? Come on, man. We from the streets, yo. We seeing how the Italian mob operate. We seeing how the Chinese triad operate. We seeing how the Japanese Yakuza operate. We see how all of y'all Russian mobs, we seeing how y'all operate. We live in Chicago. We know what Pulaski is. We know the Russian mob run Pulaski. We know the Italian mobs. Come on, man. We're from New York. The NBA and the Euro League is in bed with the very individuals that the White House and Donald Trump and all of them rail against, talking about terrorism. They in Yemen doing basketball leagues, and they got young people from the continent who can't say nothing. They at the mercy of these individuals who've been doing a slave trade for 1,300 years. This is nothing but the Arab slave trade route. The Eastern Arab slave trade route, that is exactly what this is. The NBA and the Euro League are utilizing the same slave trade routes to source players for the European League. And the best of the best of the best that get to the Euro League get to come to the NBA. That's the transatlantic slave trade. When they did it going that way to the West, first you went to Brazil. You wasn't worth nothing if you was a slave that ended up in Brazil. They would kill you on sight because Brazil was so close to Ghana, where the slaves was coming from, that, yo, if you got to Brazil, they'll work you to death, you die, and they go get some more. But if you happen to be on the ship that went up to the Caribbean, that's this trip. Tanzania represents Brazil. They'll kill you dead in Tanzania and go right back to the Congo and get more. They'll kill you dead, and they'll rape you. They'll castrate you in Tanzania. Listen. They'll take your papers and sell you into another slave trade. And even though you came and you're trying to go to basketball, because they such racists against our people, they will sell you into the slave trade, and you'll end up in Saudi Arabia or somewhere in Dubai as a worker building some structure, and you enslave, and the women that end up in the sex trade. Oh, but you get to Yemen because they had to pay a coyote and somebody had to feed you, whatever. Now your value is up even more. So the chances of you dying in Yemen is much less. But so they got to pay a whole nother set of group of individuals. So your chances of getting to the league, at least in Europe, because to pay off the pipeline is much greater. Why? Because the team in the league pays these coyotes and the network. So once you get there, the only way for them to get their money out from the leagues in Yemen, they had you play in Yemen, and they find the best players, and then the ones that they know that you'll make a squad, they take you on up to Europe and they go and get their money. Now you're stuck in Europe. And your whole goal was to go to the NBA and compete for the best of the best. And he already proved that he was the best of the best. Why the heck he got to go through Tanzania? They don't play ball in Tanzania. They scrubs. They don't play ball in Yemen. Why they go to Europe? They scrubs. They clowns. Half of the individuals from the United States of America, the USA pipeline is over. Europe will not get no more of our college and high school students. Everybody in the hood gonna know that there's a professional league here that pay better than the USA, that pay better than the NBA. So Europe, you will get no more of our hood cats that's better than LeBron. You will not get any more. And when our people in Africa know that we paying to cut out Tanzania and Yemen, we paying to cut out the European League. Let's see what your league look like then. Let's see what the Europeans do. Let's see what type of ball they play. When our talent ain't coming there to prop up your leagues. Let's see. When our talent from Africa ain't coming up to prop up your leagues. Let's see what the European basketball player look like. He secures a visa and arrives in Yemen, where he and 4 other teens, the Europeans and the Arabs been practicing sex with boys since the Roman days, since the Greek and Roman, since the Persian days. That's the other thing that nobody is paying attention to. They've been castrating boys and turning them into sex slaves since Babylon and Persia, yo. Greeks, Rome, this is what they do. And just because one makes it through, for every one that made it through, it's probably 100 that they done castrated and turned into a sex slave. Another 100 that they didn't castrate and they done sold as a different type of slave. And another 100 that they done beat to death somewhere. For every 100 that make it, it's 400 that don't. And that's a conservative number. He and 4 other teams for the DRC share a room and eat one meal. See, there go the number right there. 1 and 4. He made it. The other 4, you don't know nothing about them. They share a room and eat one meal a day. And you probably hooping like 12 hours a day. See how big the dude is? He's dang near 7 feet tall. How you feeding that man one meal a day? And he got a hoop. He got to play in the league to be able to get from Yemen to Europe. How you feeding him one meal a day, yo? Y'all love the Orlando Magic though, huh? Y'all love the Chicago Bulls, huh? You love the Lakers, huh? But we love the hood. In the same way that thieves and robbers created the Chicago Bulls, the individuals who love our people, we can create teams with better stadiums, with better logos, with better cheerleaders, with better players. And dominate professional sport just like we dominate, just like we used to dominate the Olympic Games.
When we stayed in Yemen, that's when things really got tricky. The coach asked me how old I was. I tell him I was 16. Then he said, what are you doing in Yemen at 16? I said, I'm playing pro. As you see me, I'm playing. He gave me two options. I can help you to go to Spain, or I can help you to go to Angola. The story get interesting.
For boosting blood flow, naturally, 3 key pillars of natural compounds are of paramount importance. Number 1, human research out of Albany College found that the simple combination of
once again, that ain't help. What he's saying is, he is a loan shark. This is the second group of loan sharks that he is incurring debt with. I can help you go to Spain. So he's saying, I'm gonna pay the cost to get you to Spain, and you owe me. Loan shark interest on it. Until I get my money, you my property. And if you do not make the cut in Spain after I done paid for the trip, I'm gonna get my money one way or the other. The NBA ain't the only slave trader in town. I'm going to get my, this is a lucrative black market industry, slave trade of human beings sold as slaves. And just like in the drug trade, the consumption in the USA drives the market. Every last one of y'all fans of the NBA, you are the reason why our brothers and sisters are going into slavery. You could do something about it though. All of the money that you ever put into any, if you bought a hat, you sit down, calculate every cable bill. If you watch the NBA and the NFL every year, calculate how many years you paid cable, what your average cable bill is. Sit down, calculate however many Jordan sneakers you got. Every pair, calculate. Every time you bought Nike, Adidas, Puma. Nike, Adidas, Puma. Your consumption fuels, listen. They put these brands on these people. They sell the brands to you. And when you reward the brands are telling these slave traders, this market is booming. You will get your money back. Dr. Martin Luther King told us in 1967, before they killed him, and this is why they killed him. He said, stop drinking Coca-Cola. Stop eating Roman meal bread. Stop eating Wonder Bread. All of these individuals that poison our community without investing in our community, consume none of their products. Dr. Martin Luther King gave us the blueprint in 1967 to evict the European out of the world stage. And nobody has the courage. Nobody. Y'all don't care nothing about Dr. Martin Luther King. Y'all don't care nothing about the day they assassinated him for giving you a blueprint. If you cared about him, you would honor him by at least doing that which he died to tell you to do. The least you could do is go back and examine, okay, why they kill him? Oh, he started talking about this bread. He said, don't go to Vietnam. He said, yo, he sat down and calculated how much money he spent on the soldiers in Vietnam. And he said, yo, put that into our people. He sat down and he told us that they lied about all men being created equal, because the German peasant, the European peasant, was propped up with welfare. They gave them land. They taught them how to farm. Peasants from Europe, they taught them how to land. They gave them the land. They gave them low interest, no interest loans. They gave them the machinery. They gave them welfare. They gave us nothing. He said, we coming to DC to get our check. 3 different things he told you about the economy that you got to shut down. Stop letting them send you into war. That ain't our fight and our battle. It's not patriotic to go and fight and lose your life for them to plunder and extract our brothers and sisters around the world. That is not honorable. That is not patriotism. That is thuggery. That is pirates. That is Roman Catholicism. That is ignorance. He gave you the blueprint and then killed him. And y'all still run around here like, yo, we celebrate Dr. Da-da-da. No, you celebrate the lie that the European was telling through him before he changed and turned on the European. You are the cause of the death of Dr. Martin Luther King. The lie that he lived prior to 1967, the whole life that the civil rights movement still lived to this day. He walked away from that, and that's why he died. What you celebrate is the lie. And what they want you to celebrate every year in Black History Month is the lie. That's why you are the only ones with Black History Month, because you got to live the lie. You got to repeat the lie. You got to repeat every year to your children, you slaves, you slaves, you slaves. You got to repeat the program. You are on autopilot to program the future generations with the lie. You are. In 2009, Bismarck signs a contract with the agent that brings him to Spain. Reportedly, he guaranteed the agent 10% of Bismarck's future earnings. What? He had to sign a contract guaranteeing that he would give him 10% of everything he earned. Bismarck is currently in litigation regarding the contract. Now he's fighting to try and get out of that contract. And no European court is going to rule for Bismarck, because that would send a signal to the very system that they are a part of to say that the Arab slave trade is illegal. No European court is going to cut off the gravy train so a dude in Yemen, a slave trader in Yemen, is getting 10%. It says currently he's in litigate, meaning that the NBA team Orlando Magic is taking out of his contract 50% for taxes and 10% for a slave trade. The Orlando Magic is, listen, the reason he is in litigation is because the team, this structure is in place because the owners have put the thing in place. So the minute they sign the contract, they acknowledge every agent that they use these slave markets like the recruiters that come to your house in the NCAA when they want to recruit your children? These slave traders are the agents for the NBA in Africa. So they honor their recruiters' contracts and they take it right out of their check. Now he got to try and fight to have the Orlando Magic stop paying a slave trader for selling him into slavery. It's documented, yo. It's documented. The NBA is engaged in an open present day slave trade of people of color in Africa. And President Barack Obama is recruiting on behalf of the NBA in Africa. Huh? Michelle, where you at? President Barack Obama recruits on behalf of the NBA in Africa. They are expanding operations in Africa right now and expanding this slave trade. Not he's addressing, not Obama is going and he making sure that Bismarck don't have to pay no slave trader. No, Obama's not doing that. Obama is making sure, yo, so many people is coming out of the Congo. We're going to make sure that Kenya is connected. We're going to make sure Sudan is connected. We're going to make sure, listen, we making so much money off of just the Congo. Obama, if you go and put your face on it, every African nation will send us their boys and girls. Okay. Sound like a plan to me.
Get to Spain, of all the teams in Spain come and watch me. They look at my agent and they're like, it's not good enough. I was like, look.
All of the teams in Spain. The Spanish can't play no ball. What? The Spanish in Spain can't play no ball. I ain't talking about our brothers who grew up in Brooklyn. I ain't talking about our brothers who grew up in the United States. I'm talking about the Paul Gasols, the Mark Gasols. They can't play no ball. How they gonna look at our people and talk about he ain't good enough? You got people who play soccer. Judging basketball. This is exactly what ESPN is. A bunch of commentators that can't play no ball. Got comments on who's good and who what. Can't say nothing. Get on the court and show me. Skip Bayless. This is how European has been. Listen. This is what they've been on. How dare they go and disrespect this man, talk about he ain't good enough. But they only do that to keep him there and build up their leagues so that they can put teams and that they can put teams out in front of Spanish people who want to see basketball. And then they are the Mark Cubans of Spain, making millions of dollars in Spain off of our people. This is just like the NCAA. We're going to make them sit here and play here for free, for nothing, for years, while we make money off of them. NCAA went to the Supreme Court and got a law that says it's the most racist, bigoted law ever. In football and basketball, you gotta go to school until you're the age of 21. Not in tennis, though. Listen, the Supreme Court, your legal system, every attorney, listen, you're all racists. To put that on the books so that the NCAA can make money, you created a slave trade legally in the United States after slavery. And it ain't in the loophole of the 13th Amendment because they ain't criminals. You're in violation. That is racism. That is bigotry. Golfers do not have that law. You violated your own Declaration of Independence. You do not have to honor a legal system that is unjust. And because we are governed by God's system, this is why they do business with Black Lives Matter. People who aren't governed by any law, that's called lawless. And y'all two groups are made for each other. The lawless people in government and the lawless people in the streets are out masquerading as if they're creating justice reform. When the true individuals who are lawful and faithful servants, we're calling all our brothers and sisters to come home and stand up. We'll give you the system you deserve. And then we dare them to come and challenge us like Pharaoh tried to challenge Moses when it was time for Moses to set his people free. We dare them to challenge us. We dare them. Like Belteshazzar tried to challenge the Most High God when it was time to set his people free. We dare the world. We dare you to come up out of that masquerade that you live in and try and act like you got some type of authority. We dare you. When the word commanded us to expose, have nothing to do with the worthless deeds of darkness, but expose them. We dare you to get exposed and then try and fake in front with no masquerade like you got authority. We dare you. That goes for anybody connected with the Pope. That go for anybody connected with any crown. That go for anybody connected with DC. That go for anybody connect. We dare you to come up out of this masquerade that we exposing and try and fake in front like you got authority. And we're going to bring your whole charade down around your neck and your sons and your daughters' neck. So you choose. We already doing it. The only difference is, if you look throughout the history of what I told you, you can escape with your tail between your legs and go for a period of time, get off in your bunkers or whatever, or you can step up into the ring and get knocked out publicly. Belteshazzar disrespected God and he died that night.
I'm just looking for an opportunity. If anybody can give me an opportunity, I'll work my tail off and prove myself, and that's all I needed. There were a team close to Madrid that gave me a chance. Then the deal was like 500 euros a month. I go, okay, it is what it is, you know.
They charged him 500 euros a month to play for them. They're charging our brothers and sisters. They have to pay. This is the AAU in the United States of America. Nike and Adidas get our poverty-stricken mothers in a city to pay for them to travel and play at Nike tournaments. It's the same system, y'all. It's the same exact system. The AAU is slavery. The NCAA is slavery. And they're doing it in Europe without the name of AAU. And because he wanted it a shot, he said, I'll listen, whatever you want to charge me, I'll pay it. I'm going to work my tail off. Listen, it's thousands of people who get injured. It's thousands of people who work their tail off and they still say they ain't make it. But you know what? When they stop paying the team cuts them. Then the loan shark agent comes. They're in Madrid, Spain. Spain is the headquarters that signed the treaty with Pope Alexander VI to colonize in the West, Queen Elizabeth of Spain. The expulsion of the fake Hebrews, and she slaughtered our people in Spain under the disguise of targeting fake Hebrews. And that began the Western transatlantic slave trade. Spain is the capital and headquarters of the Western transatlantic slave trade. Spain, Queen Elizabeth of Spain, King Ferdinand, the Emperor of Rome, the Roman Catholic Church, Spain. And when you don't pay, you ain't playing no more. So you willing to pay the team because that's when the NBA gets involved. So the NBA is starting to watch the team, the Spanish team in the Euro League. So now they got NBA scouts coming to certain games. This is why they're willing to pay them. But if the scout doesn't choose them, they don't get free from the bondage. If they don't get free from the bondage and they get cut from the team, then they got to pay the loan shark. But they don't have no money. Well, there's other slave trades for that.
We are honored by your presence, Gismark. I just want to wish you welcome in our big family.
Yeah, this dude is a king. This dude is a king. To withstand all of that, present day slavery. Y'all seeing what some of our people endured. The overwhelming majority of us did not go through that. The overwhelming majority of our people were caught in this. The overwhelming majority of Africans lost their lives in the Arab slave trade. Very few, very few, very, very few went across the Atlantic. Few. By 1751, Benjamin Franklin put up the sounding cry that it was too many people of color in the United States of America in a book. 1751. And they began the abolition process not because they love humanity. The very opposite. They knew there was no chance for a European to have a hold in the West if they brought slaves to America. 1751. They immediately created. They, the same slave owners, the same congressmen, the same everything. They created the Harriet Tubman Underground Railroad. They created the escape route into Canada. They created and allowed individuals to get back on ships and go back to Britain, England. They allowed people to go back to Africa, Liberia. This is in the 1700s, yo. 1800s. So by 1863, they already had a pipeline for 100 years going back. And they announced in the 1830s, they found gold in LA, in California. This is why in 1751, Benjamin Franklin told them, don't bring no more slaves over here. Don't bring any slaves over here. We need to get the slaves that we got. Listen, we found a greater, listen, they went from tobacco, they switched from the tobacco to the cotton, they switched from cotton to gold, switched from gold to oil. Then they said, we're going to industrialize the economy. We do not want competition that we're going to have to free. And then they went to Africa and joined with the Arab slave trade. And they cut the US off from slavery. And then they got the world to pat them on the back while the same British and the same US enslaved Haiti, enslaved India. This is where Gandhi and them went through their whole thing. This is after the Civil War. So if the British, who were the ones in the Civil War, no longer, they went to London and claimed that they no longer engage in slavery. So why did they go to India? Why did they go into China and do opium wars? Why did the US join them in the Berlin Conference and chop up Germany, chop up Africa, create Liberia, South Sudan? The US been in Africa colonizing with the British and the Germans hand in hand. South Africa is just as much a US colony as it is a British colony, as it is Germany's colony. Namibia, the Herero, Shark Island in Namibia is just as much. Listen, this is why the human zoos in the United States of America, listen, the St. Louis Fair, the Chicago State Fair, listen, the atrocities in Namibia, in Southwest Africa, the USA, just as much involved.
Because I am a girl, I can say that sport represents for me equality, and this court represents equality for me. Thank you.
Wrong.
I played on the sun every single day that I was here home. Why? Because there is no one indoor court.
Right.
Good shot.
I'll take this team against any team in Europe.
In the long run is that we build the outdoor
I'll
court.
take teams like this in Africa against any
open
European
the indoor
team.
court for them.
Any team in Turkey, any team in China, y'all can't play ball. Y'all cannot play ball. Chinese, y'all cannot play ball. Yao Ming don't count.
You make it to the NBA, you're really excited about making it, but on the other side is way back, advantage has been taken.
So based off of the slavery he's been through, he agrees to pay 1.05 million to the Spanish team he played for. The Charlotte Bobcats pay $525,000. So listen, this is proof that the NBA is paying slave traders the most allowed by international rules. They have international rules stating how much the team. So listen, so where does the other $500,000 come from? This law is saying only the team can only pay up to $525,000. So the other $500,000 got to come out of the pocket of the player. They got international rules for this. So they've sanctioned slavery internationally. The NBA is participating in sanctioned slavery across international lines. They want to lock our brothers up and sisters up for transporting drugs across state lines, and they give you federal sentences. These cats is selling people as slaves. This is the worst black market ever in history. And it's documented that the Charlotte Bobcats paid $525,000 to the Spanish club, whatever, who are nothing but a plantation.
You don't know what's really happening behind doors. You know, people are doing all this nice thing for you, and I think that's a problem I had with my Spanish situation. It gives me a better picture of helping kids nowadays. And each and every kid I'm gonna take from here, I make sure they're in good hands, they know and never gonna be taken advantage of, just like I was taken advantage of.
I want to make it absolutely clear. Rioting is not protesting. Looting.
This is when we turn to my Hall of Fame basketball brothers from Palm Forge. This is when we turn to my Hall of Fame basketball brothers from Trenton and Brooklyn, to the CFL, to DJ and Jervis, who still run the same team that we ran. Did you hear what the man said? The man said that he is looking for a way to protect a whole nation of people who simply want to play ball and got the talent to play ball, and they got an NBA professional who's invested in them, but he is looking for a way and a pipeline where they can cut out the middleman and come straight into an opportunity to play in the United States of America on a professional level and get paid what they're worth without being exploited. I don't think that's too much to ask for. As a matter of fact, that's what we've been commanded to do for our brothers and sisters. When you've done it unto the least of these, my brethren, you've done it unto me. When you pay them what they're worth, they get a roof over their head. When you pay them what they're worth, when I was hungry, you fed me. When I was naked, you clothed me. When you pay them what they're worth and you do not make them go through a slave trade, you have done the Hollywood Grail games. That's what this is about. That's just basketball. I can show you each and every one of our recreations where our people in the US are the best in the world. And there's a slave market attached to and a sexual abuse, sex racketing ring. Not only are they selling our sons and daughters into slavery around the world, attached to that very entity, they're making $12 trillion a year. So the NBA and the NFL and the AAU and the NCAA and college sports and ABC and NBC and CBS and Disney and Hollywood and all of them and all of these companies, the Hollywood studios, the record labels, Doritos, and all of them at the Super Bowl and all of these March Madness and all of this. So you got all of these countries, all of these corporations that are making $12 trillion off of sports industry market, self-help and self-improvement, the global apparel market, the entertainment industry market, the global wellness economy. Gaming. Gaming falls under that, the robotics and the technology market. It has expanded because now they're into virtual reality, global publishing, e-commerce, social media, advertising, marketing, retail. $12 trillion annually. Annually off of a slave trade. So I'm telling you, when you cut out the middleman, and we dealing with 97% of the Congo, we dealing 97% of Chicago, we dealing with 97% of Brooklyn. They make this $12 trillion off of not even 4%, 3% of our people from Brooklyn go to the league. Less than that. When you go state by state by state, less than 3% of our people from each state go into these industries. And if they're making $12 trillion off 3% or less, imagine how much we're wasting in these same areas, because we have 97% of the population of those areas. And we can compete in the same markets, every single market that they were in that I named. We could take the bottom 97 and we could create a professional team from the bottom 97 that's better than the top 3% that they put in the NBA. And because we have more people in the bottom 97, we can create more professional teams without watering down the content. That just explodes the amount of revenue flowing into our communities. That also allows us to do it globally and include our brothers and sisters and cause the leagues in Europe to starve, the slave traders in Africa to starve, the NBA owners and NFL owners and those thieves in the United States who have set the model and set the price of the model to starve. While we take 97% and we give reparations to the world. See, these clowns in the United States of America talk about reparations. They so selfish. This is why they have never gotten reparations. Because it says we won. Dr. Martin Luther King said injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. If you don't address the reparations across the board, you don't deserve reparations nowhere. If you don't fix the root cause, if all you're looking to do is get a quick payday, that's what the NAACP was looking for. That's why Sharpton got his National Action Network. That's why Jesse Jackson got his Rainbow Push. That's why Farrakhan got his Fruit of Islam, Nation of Islam. When all you're looking for is your particular selfish payday, that ain't reparations. And you ain't with us. So that's just one snippet of basketball. So, to my peoples, to my supernatural pro team at Oakwood, to my supernatural hoopers from Pond Forest, Daniel Faulkner, this is your opportunity right now to be the owners of these clubs who will do our people right. I'm talking about replacing Mark Cuban with Daniel Faulkner. I'm talking about replacing the owner of the Atlanta Falcons with Raymond Saunders. I'm talking about replacing the owner of the Philadelphia 76ers with Skip Peace. I'm talking about putting a team back in New Jersey under Reg and Jay Moore. I'm talking about my wife, Kanisha Leggett, taking over ownership of the Chicago Bulls. And the team in Chicago will be the birthright to our children and grandchildren. As a promise to every business. Listen, we guarantee that in Chicago under Donald Murphy and Ephraim and Chantel Lee and Jervis Robinson and all of the people at the CFL, Rodney, Michael, all our people we hoop with, we guarantee to our people in the Congo. I guarantee you that Chicago. I guarantee you that in Chicago. And then don't even let me get started on LA. Magic Johnson is dethroned in LA. And Curtis Norvell Williams, Spider-Lope, and his children in honor of Nipsey Hussle. The Lakers ain't worthy to play under Nipsey, under Magic Johnson. And then we get a LA Clippers to ET. Spider-Low get the Lakers, ET get the Clippers. Who just moved his queen from the cold weather in Michigan to improve her health situation out to the West Coast. Perfect. We guarantee you that the NBA, I guarantee you that my family, will make sure that anybody around the world who has been exploited under this system starting specifically here at home, any of y'all boys who want to play any of y'all girls who want to play professionally. Did you hear the young girl talk about equality? Ladies, in Chicago, Illinois, I played with a young lady who went on to play for the New York Liberty. I played with a young lady. I was going to Triton University. She was at high school. And so her high school used to come and scrimmage. Our coaches had a relationship where in preseason, they used to bring the girls from their high school to come and scrimmage against us boys so they could play up. Cappy. She ended up going to Rutgers University, where I'm from, Trenton. And then from Rutgers, she went to the Liberty. And it's been downhill from there. Why? Because the WNBA treats women the same way that European treat women. Trash. And one man's trash is another man's treasure. Trash. You are second and third class citizens in Europe. They got to play the WNBA season and hop right on the plane and go to play in the European season. And the European League is better than the WNBA. Fan-wise, response-wise, money-wise, it's disrespectful. Any young ladies in the United States of America that want to play at a professional level, not only will we fill up the stadiums, you talking to somebody who coached a women's basketball team to championship caliber, and the best coach that myself and my wife know in history, Doc Fielder. We are doing Olympic Games. We do Olympic Games annually for this coach who coached my wife and is about to coach my daughter. God willingly, if COVID allows them to have a season. The best coach I've ever seen in my life. Where we come from, women are second-class citizens. I learned this from Doc Fielder. I knew I was going to go to the league if Doc Fielder coached me in high school. I was going straight to the league. I knew it. I almost cried when he told me he was coaching the girls. I was a freshman and knew I was going to the league. I was a freshman in high school and knew, yo, if I get 4 years under Doc, I will destroy the league. I made varsity my sophomore year, and it wasn't under Doc Fielder. But watching Doc coach them women, including my wife, I got it. I understood. I understood. Because if he already had kings killing, if the varsity team was already killing, unlike the NBA and the WNBA, the varsity is already killing. The NBA is already killing. He said, we represent the school through making the women just as great as the men. There's no better way for us to represent who we are than to make champions out of our queens, not peasants and paupers. WNBA is a pauper situation. It's a clown league. I don't even know why they didn't. I think they regret that they've done it. I think they pulled the trigger and they thought that people who don't care about women could attract people to a sport where listen, we ain't on that.